right, here we go. All right, here we go. And we are back. Welcome to the Soapbox, where people who work, care, and volunteer in recovery tell us who they are and what they are most passionate about. My name is Rich Jones, RN, and I represent parentingyourchildinrecovery.com and my home website, secondstars.com, the number two, NDSTARTS.com. Today, my guest is Dr. Janelle Martin. Janelle Martin is a licensed counselor. She's a doctor of functional medicine. She's the founder of the Mind Connection, which we're going to get into later, okay? And she's also, and I'm going to need education on this, a certified microcurrent neurofeedback provider, okay?
Yeah.
And to boot, an author. So we'll get to all that. Janelle, hello, and how are you? And thank you for being here.
Hi, I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Listen, Janelle, I ask everybody, so I'm going to ask you also. Please give us the Cliff Notes version of who Dr. Janelle Martin is, how you got to where you're at. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, how I got to where I'm at is when my daughter was a teenager, she became addicted to drugs, and it was very quickly a crisis situation where we were faced with figuring out what to do to save her life.
Okay.
And in that experience, I went through recovery with her. She did go to treatment, and she did recovery, and so did I. And that was life altering for me in every way. Not only did it help me to restore my relationship with my daughter and understand, what this whole addiction and recovery thing is about,
Okay.
but it also helped me take a look at myself and what my part in it was, and then also what my future looks like as a completely changed person. And so out of that, my company was born, and I am a holistic mental health provider. So, given that addiction background, I help people get off medications or avoid taking them, or at least reduce the amounts and maybe the numbers of medications that they're on. Because
Okay.
times when you have an addiction and you go into recovery, the first thing that doctors want to do is throw pills at you because of your mental health. And I'm a believer that your brain can heal and we can help it heal. And those prescriptions can be more damaging than they are helpful in the long term, especially. So I built my practice around helping people be able to avoid those substances, all substances, and feel and function their very best.
Oh,
I threw the counseling in there because some people still have trauma that they need to work through, help with that. So I went back and got my master's degree after all of this, and then I got my doctorate in functional medicine. And the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know and I need to know. So I just keep going.
okay. All right. And doctor, you've been busy.
Yes.
You've definitely been busy. Okay, everybody, listen. Remind everybody in the show notes, we're going to give you an opportunity to learn more about Dr. Martin, Dr. Janelle Martin, and we're going to give you some contact information and tell you more about some of the things that we're getting ready to talk about. So before we move on, let's remind you also, if you are the parent, mentor, or practitioner who loves, cares, or works with young adults at risk, in trouble, or even in current rehabilitation, Parenting Child in Recovery is a non-clinical option that accelerates and multiplies the results of almost all evidence-based treatment. There'll be notes providers can get in touch with us or interested support. Okay, Janelle. This is where I put you up on the soapbox. We're going to throw some things at you, and we're going to get the essence of, your opinion and what you think. That's why we brought you here. So the first thing I want to ask you about, explain to me and talk to me about addiction as a family disease.
Oh, it's definitely a family disease because addiction affects every member of the family, as everyone tends to revolve around the person in the family that is struggling the most. And we're all trying to figure out what to do and how to help and what they need to do and all the things. So the whole family starts to revolve around fixing the person who is sick.
Right.
And so it affects everyone, and it affects everyone negatively, because now all of a sudden, if you have other children that are performing well or doing the right things, they get
Right.
ignored because the focus is on the one that isn't. And so there's a really big unbalance dynamic
Yes.
that happens in the family, and it becomes very toxic very quickly depending on the sickness.
Okay. And so, I guess that would relate to your your thoughts on family health in general and how that affects addiction?
Absolutely, because when the family can get healthy, it greatly causes the person that's sick to get better. It can really influence how they deal with their addiction. And as a family, I think most people are just, they stay in this shame, this disappointment, this
Hmm.
what did I do wrong, this place of trying to, this guilt that I caused this to happen, instead of looking up and out to the resources and help to get help for themselves so that they can help their addicted loved one. It's just like being on an airplane when they have the oxygen mask. You're supposed to put it on yourself before you can put it on your child, and it is the same thing because we have influence. We can't, you know, goad them into treatment. We can't scold them into treatment. We can't shame them into treatment, but we can get healthy and we can learn about what addiction really is and how it's a mask for pain, and we can approach it in a way that can help our loved one want to get better instead of just feel worse about themselves and stay in their addiction because they can't see a way out. So we have a lot of power in that. And then also, I will just say recovery will change you if you let it,
Okay.
because a 12-step program, which is probably the most popular one out there, it's not for everyone, I
Mhm.
understand. But it really does kind of force you to take a look inside yourself and see, maybe your part in what's been going on and how you can make changes to yourself, and then also how you can let go of, past hurts and past things to move forward in your life, and then eventually be able to give hope and healing to other people who are walking the same journey. So it is a beautiful way of living, um, and I just fully believe in it.
Okay. All right. Uh, in your mindset, tell me, apparently you talk about family members a lot.
Mhm.
You can suggest ways that they can improve their lives and increase their joy. Increase. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because we all have purpose, every person. So regardless, and I know it's hard as a parent because I've been there, done
Hmm.
that. When your child is suffering, people say, you're only as happy as your, least happy child. And while that rings true as a parent, because we don't want to see our children suffering, that is very
Right.
painful for us. But sometimes it's not our job to fix that. It's to help them to walk through that and get to the other side. Their life
Right.
is their own, even if they're a minor. My daughter was addicted to drugs by 16, 17. So she was a minor,
Hmm.
but she ended up having to work through that later. But her choice to be sober was always going to be hers. It's never,
Yes.
I can't love her sober. I can't talk her into being sober. She has to decide that's what that's what she wants for herself. So our job isn't to make them do anything. Our job is to look at ourselves and to fulfill our life's purpose and hope that we are a good role model for our children and we can influence them in a positive way, that there is more to life. But if we wallow with them, how is that helpful?
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. 100%. Um, talk to me about, in your estimation, the role of support groups.
Oh my
You know.
goodness. Support groups were my lifeline.
Okay.
That was where I found my people, the people who I felt understood me, didn't judge anything I said, any story I told about what was happening in our home. It was met with love and
Hmm.
compassion, and people that said, "Yeah, I've experienced something similar to that too." And I can't tell you how freeing it is to be in a room with people who've been there too, understand you, and you don't have to feel bad about it. And they'll also take your hand and walk you through the hard stuff because they've been there too. So when I was given phone numbers to parents to talk to,
Hmm.
my daughter went to treatment in Arizona and I live in Texas, so I
Okay.
couldn't personally go there. They had parent meetings every Thursday night. And I was finally given parents to just call and just chat with other moms.
Okay.
And it was the most beautiful day. just being able to call one after the other and hear their story and tell them mine. And it was like this, we had this relationship that was just born out of having a similar, very distressing and very scary experience with our children. And from that, one of the moms offered to phone me into the parent meeting. So I got phoned into the meetings every Thursday night. And that opened my eyes to a room full of parents who were just like me. We're all normal people,
Okay. Right.
and it really got me going and moving forward in my life, having that lifeline. And then eventually I started my own parent meetings here once my daughter was sober and moved back home. For the last 6 years, I've been doing parents of addicted loved ones meetings here for other parents in my office every Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, talk about that because I was going to get to that in our other section, but now that you're on that, how did the meetings go for you? And does it? And I got a question.
Yeah.
The fact that you're also a doctor, does that affect how families react to you when you're trying to help them?
I hope not. Maybe
And I
just,
mean for the better, even,
yeah, it may give me more credibility, but I don't try to use that as leverage to
Mhm.
say that I know everything, because everybody has their own story and their own situation. But I do know some of the things that do work better than others. So I think it helps in that way, but I don't ever want somebody to think that I'm above them.
Right,
I'm
right.
one of you. I've lived it. So that's where I want to come from when I talk to people about, their children or their loved one that is struggling. So my meetings are amazing, and I'm very busy. So every time I think that I might have to give something up, I look at my parent meetings and think that
Yeah.
would be a logical thing to give up. But every time I have a meeting, I enjoy it so much. And a lot of times I don't do a lot of talking anymore.
Okay.
The members of the meeting can talk themselves and share their experiences with each other without even me having to contribute anymore. And it's just so beautiful to me that there are parents out there who are willing to reach out their hands and hug other parents and give them a space to be the real and to be not judged and to be understood and know that they're not alone. And that's just such a powerful thing. And it's just amazing for me to witness that. So I don't know that I'll ever give it up. I may have to at
Okay.
some point or hand over the reins, but I do still love it, and I still get a lot out of it. I've been to Al-Anon too. I've done 12-step meetings.
Okay.
Daughter was in her relapse. That's where I went because I needed in-person help and support, and I went and found an amazing Al-Anon meeting. That was actually, it was interesting because one of my daughter's friends from high school, her mom happened to be in the meeting that I went to, and
Okay.
we didn't know about each other, about our daughters both being in the same, proverbial boat. And so I think that might have been a divine um,
Okay.
connection as well, that we could support each other, having already known each other, and it just felt safe and comfortable. But there's a lot of options for support groups out there. And I encourage parents and anybody who's dealing with an addicted loved one, if it's a spouse,
Hmm.
sister, whoever, please seek out a support group. I do feel like it's life changing. And don't quit after the first meeting. It's
Right.
always so uncomfortable to walk in and not know and understand what's really going on and what recovery is about. But keep going. Give yourself at least, I would say, 5 to 10 meetings before you
Hmm.
decide whether it's for you or not for you. And there's lots of options. So you can go the church route. They have Celebrate Recovery,
Right.
there's Generation Recovery here. There's Smart Recovery that is no faith based at all, and there's all kinds of 12-step meetings for spouses and parents, and then there's Parents of Addicted Loved Ones too, that offers educational topics and then also time to share. And we do more crosstalk in those meetings. So
Okay.
there's lots of options.
Right. That's very informative. Thank you. I want to remind everybody. We'll put some of the doctor's information in the show notes. Very important. some things that we're getting ready to talk about, I think, are fascinating. Also, remember, parenting your child in recovery. If you're looking for something to accelerate, you're already involved in groups or evidence-based treatment, parentingyourrecovery.com. I want to move on to some of your projects, Doctor. Let's talk about the first thing I want to get to is let's talk about the book.
Sure.
Okay. Let's talk about the genesis of it. Let's go with it. Let me hear about the book. I'm interested.
When my daughter was in the midst of the struggle, and therefore I was too, once we had her crisis moment and we got her into treatment, and that was, a feat within itself, because I knew nothing about addiction, I knew nothing about recovery, I knew nothing about any of it. And so nothing gives you a crash course in something than when your child is near death. So I wanted to learn everything I could learn about this whole thing, this addiction, this recovery. I knew the 12 steps, but I didn't know them at all.
Right.
I never even read them. I don't think that was for other people. Right. So as I was diving in and trying to learn about what was even going on, what does this even mean for us? I read so many books, and I read books that were written by an addicted person in recovery,
Mhm.
and I read books that were written by the parents. And for me, there was always something missing. I wanted to know the full picture. If it was written by the parent, I wanted to know what was going on with the child. And if it
Okay.
was written by the recovering person, I wanted to know what was going on in the home. Where were the parents? Were they even there? What was happening?
Right.
So I had this idea after my daughter was sober the second time, to write a book, but I wanted her to write her story and I wanted me to write mine and then put them together so it would be that
Okay.
complete picture. And I didn't tell her about it. I'm not really a writer, but I can write. But one day, very soon after I had this idea, she came to me and said, Mom, I think we should write a book. And she's had the same idea that we would write it separately and put it together. So
Okay.
I actually started writing the book at that point, and that would have been about 5 years ago, maybe 6. And I got to what would end up being probably the first 4 or 5 chapters, and then realized I don't know anything about publishing a book. What's going to happen to this? So I kind of put it aside, thinking, I don't know what I'm even going to do with this. And she never started really writing hers because she ended up going back to school and doing all kinds of things and getting busy. So I had an opportunity about a year and a half ago to write a chapter for a collaborative book through my publisher, Hope Books, and I did that because I knew when I did that, it would help me resurrect my original idea of writing the
Okay.
book that gives you the full picture, and that's what it did. So for every chapter, I wrote the book, I wrote all of my story, and then I went back and I interviewed my daughter for every single chapter. I read her mind, and then I
Okay.
interviewed her for her part. So the book is very comprehensive with what she was dealing with and what she was thinking and how it affected me and what I was doing and thinking. And it's interesting how different our perspectives really are
Yeah.
during that struggle. And so I think that's what makes this book so powerful. And it really was the book that I wanted to read when I was going through it. And I just decided to do it for other parents who may want the same thing and can resonate with it.
Okay. That's so it's called Losing Her, Finding Us.
Yep. A mother's
Okay.
fight, a daughter's
Oh, you
journey.
got it there. Good. Good.
Yeah. Look
All
for the blue
right.
butterfly.
Okay. And I think I remind everybody, and I think I put this up here, but I'll flash it again. I think if you go to this
Yeah.
address, she'll be highlighted there in a place where you can get that book.
Yep.
Obviously, must reading, considering how you just explained it to us.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I want to ask you about um, what I said earlier. Tell me about the mind connection and what your business is. Talk to me about that. And is that where I got the fancy term certified
Yes.
microcurrent neurofeedback provider? Okay.
Yes, that's our hidden gem here is that's our brain healing technology that we use to help rebalance the brain. And how that sort of came to be such an integral part of what I do is um, I originally, when I was much younger and went to school, I wanted to be a psychiatrist. But then I
Okay.
realized medical school was really long and really expensive, and I had gotten married. And so my life just took a different path. So that's always kind of been in my background. But I went to a conference and listened to a presentation by a neurofeedback provider. And this was a traditional neurofeedback provider because it has been around since the 60s.
Okay.
So the technology, the idea of it is not necessarily new. But I was amazed that you could help the brain to heal by just using electricity, basically. I mean, our brain is an electrical organ, so it does make sense to treat like with like. And so I'd just never seen it before. So I got really excited. And I was going to go train and become a neurofeedback provider. But that about that time was when my daughter's crisis happened. So I
Okay.
forgot all about it, and my focus was on her, helping her, getting her into treatment, all of that. So fast forward about a year and a half, um, my daughter and I were asked to speak at a community meeting, and there happened to be somebody there listening and came up to me after the meeting and told me about a nonprofit he had that he was using brain healing technology to help people in
Okay.
recovery. Because when you get clean and sober, your brain is still not functioning at the level that it needs to. It has clearly been damaged from the
Mhm.
substances, and mostly it's that dopamine center of the brain that takes a long time to come back online
Right.
into a normal state. So people don't like to live sober but never being able to feel joy, and that's what dopamine does. So what he was proposing is that this microcurrent neurofeedback is a newer type of neurofeedback that was really helpful in helping the brain come back online
Okay.
faster so that recovery could be more sustainable and maybe avoid, more relapses. But he also let me treat my daughter. So she was my first client after I trained
Okay.
to work for him. And she was about 6 months sober at that time for the second time. And it was really life changing for her. It really did help her. It helped her anxiety. It helped her depression. It helped her neck pain. It helped her sleep. It helped so many things. And she didn't really believe that it would. It was really kind of funny, but she did it for me. She's like, okay, mom's doing this. I guess I'll
Okay.
go and humor her. But it was really life changing, and it helped her feel happy again right away. And so that's the background for me doing this, but it helps with all kinds of things. So I don't just see people in recovery. I see all people who want a better functioning brain, and including children. So it
Okay.
helps with attention, it helps with memory, it helps with headaches, it helps with chronic pain, it helps with chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, so many things, anything brain related. And we just have seen it work and just do really miracles with people that it's our integral technology that we use here, and we'll add counseling if we need it. We'll add trauma therapy. We can do
Okay.
all of those other things too, but without brain health, I think it takes a lot longer to heal. And that our idea is to get people healed and back into their life. We don't
Okay.
need
That
to see
makes
them forever.
okay. Very interesting. So this is I'm assuming a brick and mortar place that they come to, and do you
Yes,
get referrals from other practitioners? I mean, is that how you see them?
we do. We work with other counselors and people who also believe in the technology. Our business has just grown through word of mouth too, which is
Okay.
the best,
Yeah.
compliment we can get. And we see lots of times we'll see entire families. Once one
Interesting.
person experiences what it can do, then everybody wants to do it. And it's safe for children. You can't feel it. It's like a spa treatment for the brain. So there's really no reason not to. Um, and it really does help people in recovery if they want to be sober. It doesn't make you be sober, but it
Mhm.
can really help you maintain your sobriety if you're serious.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. Before we go, I just wanted to go off the beaten track just a little bit because, this was a practice of mine earlier, and sometime I'm in. But for you, it rings true. You're such a busy person.
Mhm.
I mean, just by looking at your accomplishments, what's fun? Well,
Fun
what's
for
fun?
let's
For
see. I enjoy my daughter and I are best friends now. She actually works with me, so there's a lot of hope in our story, and we
Okay.
spend a lot of time together. And she is hilarious, as a lot of people are who've been through a lot of traumatic stuff. She's very sarcastic and funny, so
Okay.
she's fun to me. And we don't spend all our time together, but we do spend a lot of time together. But otherwise, for me, fun looks like grounding myself. It looks
Okay.
like getting out into nature, getting into the sun, reading books. I love to read and find more information about things that I don't know everything about. And so for me, that is fun. I'm also a scrapbooker, so
Okay.
I have made scrapbooks for, my kids' whole lives, my whole life. And so pictures and memories are fun. And
Okay.
to dance, my husband's taking dancing lessons so we can dance together. And that's been really
Oh,
fun. So
okay. Yeah. As a matter of fact, you funny you say that. Me and my wife are getting ready to do some type of ballroom dancing thing.
it's fun.
I'm going to be instructed on what we're going to
Yeah.
do, but
Yes.
just something to keep it live. And your scrapbooking is mostly family memory oriented for the
Yep.
most part.
Yep. Just recording everything that is significant in our lives. And my view is that will be passed down to my children and my grandchildren and so on. So they'll know who we were, when we're not here anymore. And I just think that that's fun and important.
Okay, very, very good. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I want to remind everybody, check out those show notes. We'll give you information with the doctor. You see what we have on screen there. I think if you go to that site, you'll be pleasantly surprised and you'll be able to get the information you need and follow the doctor's mindset. This is a great mindset, and I like the way you think about things. So that's good. Um, I want to thank you for being on the show. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we can keep in contact.
Yes.
Um, this has been very good. Remember too, and also let me make sure that you take your one last look in case you want to look up and think about, what's going on with that. That means something that can help any of you out, And I'm a firm believer in using tools. Any tool that you can get to, hardly few tools are bad tools. So use them all, put them together, and stack up your power. So that's
Love
what
it.
I believe. So,
Yes.
all right, doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank you. And for the doctor and myself, I want to remind everybody, as we always do in closing, let's remember to get out there and help somebody get better, help somebody stay better. Most importantly, help somebody be better. Goodbye.
Amen.